This is Girl Without a Prayer, a Terra-Strong mystery, Book 5, written by Rylie Dark, read by Jack. Prologue. Vernon cocked his head, listening and hearing nothing. That was odd. This property had booked in for regular landscaping through the fall, and he'd been here last week at the same time. On that visit, the dog had barked at him incessantly, first from the backyard and then, once his owner had dragged him inside from the kitchen window. Now, though, there was nothing. Was the damn thing sleeping? He knew the owner had to be here because their expensive 4x4 was still parked up right next to his truck, unless they'd gone for a walk. Well, if it meant he was free of the damn dog, he'd take it, but he'd rather someone was there to witness him starting his work so he could get full credit for the hours. Vernon took a second before getting out of his van and parked up facing the lake. He looked out at the water, still and quiet at this time of day before the tourists came. Not that it was too busy around this area most of the time anyway, except for this time of year, when all these rich vacation homeowners headed back to town for the fall festival. The biggest event in the Edgar County calendar drew in locals and out-of-towners alike. Not that he was complaining. They all wanted their yards perfect and their lawns landscaped before they arrived, which meant he had more work. They paid well, too. Not one of them had noticed that he raised his rates specifically for this small area of the shore in the Placid Lake development. Vernon chuckled, stepping down out of the truck and pausing for a moment to let his knee joints settle. Things weren't working the way they used to anymore, and jobs like these, ones that paid better, were exactly what he needed before his retirement. Put a few more cents in the bank before it was time to hang up his gardening shears for good. He made for the front door of the cabin. Not that it qualified for the name of the cabin, given how big it was and how much land was fenced off for the yard. This wasn't a cabin. It was a rich person's idea of one. The developers of this lakeside community had seen a cabin on a greeting card once and overestimated the size of the thing in reality. And they'd missed the whole point, fenced it all off instead of getting people closer to nature like they should have done. But Vernon wasn't going to complain, he reminded himself. Not like those in the county who thought the development was an eyesore. These people were making him money. Vernon walked to the door stiffly at first until his knees eased back into gear and lifted a hand, watching the step so he didn't trip. He looked up to land his knock and the door was open. Vernon paused, wetting his lip. Something wasn't right about this. A deathly silent house with a door open by the lake? With it being the day before Halloween, maybe he was just on edge, but he glanced around side to side. From this angle, even though each property was mostly private.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?